Characters beware because there's a new alpha predator in town. Let's talk about the best sniper in Warhammer 40K. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where today we're talking snipers and the very best of the bunch in the entire 41st millennium. A few months back I made a video comparing some of the various strong snipers in 40k, which ones were most effective and had the best damage output, though admittedly at the moment in 9th edition, snipers in general just aren't really all that strong with the amount of good line of sight blocking terrain and bodyguard special rules around. In any case, it does seem like there could be a new contender that easily unseats all of them. Perhaps the guy who really should be top of the tree in terms of sniper damage output is the Vindicator Assassin. In the lore there's not really supposed to be anyone who's a better shot than he is. When his rules came out, admittedly they really weren't too bad, he does stack a whole load of good stuff, but power creep has kind of left him behind a bit. A lot of characters tend to be a fair bit tougher, and his Exodus rifle isn't exactly the most reliable. His rules already gets one shot at strength 5, AP-3, damage D3. It's pretty underwhelming stats on the face of it, but he does combine that with a whole bunch of other special rules, wounding infantry on 2s, a wound roll of 6 deals D6 damage instead. He ignores invul saves, and he also has a really fun headshot special rule which allows him to generate some more mortal wounds. It's pretty reasonable at his chance to take out support characters. He'll usually do 2 or 3 wounds to something like a Skitarii Marshal or Space Marine Librarian, struggling a bit more against meatier targets, say like a Custodes Shield Captain. When I last did the comparison, perhaps the eventual winners did turn out to be the Space Marine Eliminators, at least where actual normal snipers were concerned, models that could gun down a character from a long way away rather than just up close. These Primaris Marines at sniper rifles hit on 2s, and their bolt snipers are just really quite a good generalist profile, usually wanting to use their Mortis rounds, strength 5, AP-2, damage 2, with an extra mortal wound on 6s. Considering they're only 75 points, if you weight them per 100 points like the Vindicator Assassin is, they are just a bit more efficient, averaging around about 3 or 4 wounds to the Skitarii Marshal or Space Marine Librarian, and a tiny bit better against the Shield Captain. I'd bear in mind that this is without combat doctrines or chapter tactics or anything. In either Imperial Fist or Raven Guard they'll be a fair bit more impressive, getting exploding 6s to hit or potentially picking up the +1 to wound against characters. Since I made that video, a few other interesting books have dropped. Besides today's star of the show, perhaps the Genestealer Cult Sanctus is one of the most interesting. He's only 70 points, and if you give him the Gift from Beyond sniper rifle, that gets him a strength 5, AP-3, damage 3 shot that has the very nice ability of auto-wounding the target, being +1 to wound with the crossfire exposed, and you also get another bonus mortal wound thrown in if you do happen to roll a 4+ to wound. Compared with Eliminators, per the 100 points, is a little bit worse against the light target, a bit better against anything that doesn't have an invul save, and in particular he could be very dangerous to the Space Marine Librarian if he used that stratagem to give him the chance of perils, though he is a bit worse against the Custodes Captain due to its good invul save. From the Genestealer Cult, I guess you could also talk about the Kellamorph as well, but I consider him a bit more of a gunslinger than an out-and-out sniper. He does have to get at least fairly close, and he is fairly fragile. Currently though, it would appear that the single best sniper in Warhammer 40k is this clown, the very cheap, very brutal Harlequin Death Jester, who makes all of the other characters look like a complete joke with his amazing Shrieker cannon. At base, the Harlequin Death Jester costs 55 points, he's an Elite's Choice character, hits on 2s, his stat line is fairly impressive, though strength and toughness 3, and he does have a 4+ invul to keep him safe. That Shrieker cannon is still really quite good at base, 30-inch range, assault 3 shots at strength 6, AP-2 and damage 2. He can ignore Lookout Sir with it. He gets an additional AP-2 on wound rolls of a 6. That certainly doesn't hurt against hard targets, and also if you happen to turn his guns on squads, they will also count as double casualties for the purposes of morale. In the new Harlequins rules in Codex Eldari, they did take away any relic shuriken cannons that this guy can take, though at the same time they have made him deadlier and more scary than ever. The combo that perhaps Games Workshop hadn't thought about is the combination of the pivotal role Harvester of Torment, which you can buy in for an extra 15 points, and the Warlord trait Favour of Segarak, which you could get for free if he is your Warlord or buy him for a command point. The two work together absolutely beautifully. The pivotal role gives you exploding 6s to hit, score an additional 3 hits, meaning that even if you just rolled quite lucky with your 3 dice that you get, if you get a 6, that's essentially going to equate to 4 hits all by itself. It's really quite a potent damage boost. The Warlord trait, the Favour of Segarak, That allows you to look at a roll that you've just made and then choose to change one of the dice to a 6. It can either be a hit roll, wound roll, or saving throw. Usually the hits are going to be the most valuable, but in combination with that pivotal roll, getting an extra 6 is absolutely amazing. Despite the fact that you're flipping a dice over, it actually doesn't count as a modified 6. It'd only count as a modified 6 if you had, say, a +1 to the hit roll. So using this combo together does check out rules as written, and it's absolutely monstrous. Just looking at the damage output for him, you now have the single fairly cheap character, 70 points with a pivotal roll, plus a warlord trait that's either free or you buy in for 1 command point. You start out with 3 shots, all hitting on a 2+, which just at base with that pivotal roll, turn on turn will average you around 4 hits due to the exploding 6s, already a fairly meaty dose of sniper damage. Then each turn you basically look at the roll that you've just made, change one of the dice that isn't a 6 to a 6, and that could be even more helpful if you happen to have rolled a 1 on one of them, meaning that with that action you're usually going to get an extra 3 more hits, or you might even get 4 if you happen to be altering a 1. It means that this guy's average damage output is going to get you 7 hits at strength 6 AP-2 damage 2, and with a chance to get a bit more AP as well if you roll a 6 to wound. His expected damage output just absolutely nukes any other sniper in the game right now. This is the damage output for him. I'm not even waiting for 100 points like I did for the other examples, so really he'd be even better than that against those. But basically you'd expect around about 8 wounds to a Skitarian Marshal, who of course only has 4, so he's almost definitely dead. You average 7 wounds to a Space Marine Librarian, again very likely dead as that's far more wounds than he has, and even against a really hard target, a Custodes Shield Captain with a 2+ save and a 4+ invul, you're still getting a very meaty around about 5 wounds against him turn on average. It's just absolutely ridiculous damage, and if your opponent isn't able to shield their characters with something like a wall or a bodyguard ability, then they're just going to get picked off with ease. And what's more, he can do this while moving really fast as well. He moves 8 inches at base, and he could potentially advance and shoot without any real drop off in damage output, or you could mount him in a very fast moving Starweaver, 16 inches worth of movement, get some line of sight, and then just drive by whichever character you want to. Otherwise, if he's out of the transport, you could maybe fire and fade him to get him back safe behind terrain. And if that spectacular average damage output wasn't quite enough for you, you could always boost it even further with things like Luck of the Laughing God for some rerolls, or command points to reroll wound rolls. He does seem like a real auto-include in just about every Harlequin's list, and certainly isn't a bad one to try and pick up in things like more mixed Eldar lists too. The kind of damage that he has on offer will absolutely slap characters, but it is just kind of a general purpose weapon of war. He'll mow down plenty of elite infantry like this, and then make them run away extra well. So you can consider yourself at least a little bit warned if you do happen to be playing Harlequins and this guy's on the other side of the table. He will be hitting things far harder than you might expect. You really would have to keep your characters very safe, ideally by bodyguards if possible. Let me know your thoughts on the combo down in the comments, particularly if there's anything else that I've missed that could make him even more lethal. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep these regular 40k videos coming, with new ones out just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the content on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, an enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.